Good evening, Detective.
Hello, Detective. It's such a great turnout for the reunion. I'm so glad people are able to relax and have a good time, despite all this chaos.
Please tell me that news reporter at least has a stun gun for their interview with Vixie.
Jason, would you stop? It's bad enough your wife and kid got too sick, they had to leave, but now you have to keep bringing up the interviews as well? You're only upsetting yourself.
It's not like everyone inside isn't thinking the same thing.
Whoa there, you two. What gives? Tonight's a celebration, after all. You two have accomplished so much. Let's go and show that off to everyone. Come on, you two. Inside. Sorry about them, Detective. I guess everyone's on edge tonight, huh? Sadie was all excited about being part of a national interview. It just blows my mind that people are so fascinated when there's a tragedy but every other day of the week. It's like Fort Lutero who? I wonder how Charlie feels about the whole interview.
Oh, over the moon. I broke the story. Now I get to sit back and watch some other so-and-so get the national success.
Oh, come on, not you two. Wait, why are you here? This isn't your reunion.
I came to give a message to the detective from the sergeant because apparently that's what I do now. If you'll excuse us, Coach.
Oh, sure thing. I'll see you both inside.
Sorry, it took so long for me to get here. Traffic is insane tonight. The sergeant wants you to head up to the penitentiary to sit in with the interview. I'll take the first shift and sergeant will roll up in like an hour and I'll head back to the station. The national news crew wants to use our editing bay, of course, and I have to be there to make sure they don't ruin anything. Don't tell me not to be huffy, it's my story. I want to be able to see it through. You're right, Detective. We'll all get to see this one through. I've got a small camera set up. Even if I'm just faking it, I can at least get some footage for the story of the reunion. Head up there and I'll let the sergeant know if we have any problems.
Hello, Detective. I'm honored you're with us tonight. Mr. Frenzel, meet the detective that's working on the case.
Hello, Detective. Bryce Frenzel. I've been following this case since it opened, and I must say, your work back in New York is incredible. I really hope you find who it is that killed these people. If you need anything from me during this interview, please, don't hesitate to ask. If you'll excuse me, we're ready to begin. Camera, lights, sound, action. I'm Bryce Frenzel, reporting to you from the Fort Lutero Female Penitentiary, where an inmate is starting to gain national attention ever since her case was reopened after 15 years. Vixie Ferrento, thank you so much for agreeing to speak with me.
The pleasure is entirely mine, Mr. Frenzel. Thank you for being here tonight.
I'm sure you're well aware of the fact that you've been a sort of national celebrity almost overnight. You were convicted in the murder of your older brother, Bruce Ferrento, and 15 years later, the police are now reopening and observing the case. How do you feel about all of this?
It's exhilarating. I've never been the center of attention, and now I'm starting to see why people like it so much.
Now, 15 years is a long time for someone like you who was convicted at the age of 14. You were tried as an adult due to the gravity of the situation, and were sentenced to life in prison, but served the first 4 years in juvenile hall. You were only 14. Is there any anger towards anyone?
To be honest, I don't feel angry about it anymore. I did for the first few years, but I quickly realized that we live in such a small town that there's no way secrets can be kept for that long a time.
Well, 15 years is a long time to wait, don't you think?
Oh, it's never too late to tell the truth, Mr. Frenzel.
There is a direct quote from FLTV anchorman Charlie Storm in an article he wrote about you not too long ago. She's like the Cheshire cat, a grin that's inviting you in, but the second she starts talking, you need a map to follow her train of thought. I noticed that on your visit applications, there have been no registered visitors in the last 15 years. I can imagine that must take a toll. Has 15 years affected you mentally?
It's funny, really. I'd heard that no one wanted to be around anyone going through their teens. Although, it would have been nice to see someone. Face-to-face conversation is an art that's lost nowadays, isn't it? I guess you can say that it's affected me a little bit. I've forgotten what it's like to have a normal conversation with somebody. As you can read from that article, I'm quite the nut, aren't I?
I spoke to a couple locals today, and the general consensus among most of them was that you were completely insane. They were convinced that I was going to need all the protection I can get. Why do you think people are so quick to warn me?
People are afraid of others if they think they're capable of anything. People saw what they wanted to see, and I was who they had their sights set on. They wanted someone to be the monster, so everyone could live happily ever after. Especially after it was destroyed.
There's a rumor floating around town that says you know exactly who killed your brother and the 3 players whose murder the FLPD is currently investigating. Would that be a fact, or just a rumor?
Oh, it's most definitely a fact.
So you're choosing not to tell the FLPD, even though our records state that you've been assisting in the investigation.
I'm not withholding any information from the FLPD, or from you. I've been very candid with my leads, but I still need them to do the footwork because, as you can see, I can't exactly do that myself.
We interviewed Chief Danny Chamberlain earlier today about your case, and this is what he had to say.
15 years ago is a long time. Just because we've reopened the case doesn't prove that she's innocent. We're still reviewing evidence found during the Bruce Ferentio case due to its similarities to the case we're currently looking into. We're not trying to prove her innocence or her guilt. We're trying to catch a murderer.
The consensus that my team and I felt was that the FLPD has serious doubts about your incarceration, as well as whether or not the evidence was conclusive enough. Do you think that Chief Chamberlain is correct in saying that they're not trying to prove your innocence or guilt?
I don't think that that's their intention at all. But if it happens to work out in my favor because they're actually going through the evidence like they're supposed to do, then who am I to argue?
We're just about out of time, but I wanted to ask you one last question. Did you kill Bruce Ferentio?
No, I did not.
Vixie Ferentio, thank you so much for spending some time with me, and I want to wish you the very best of luck, whatever happens.
Thank you for sharing my story.
Reporting from Fort Luthero Female Penitentiary, I'm Bryce Frenzel for Initiation TV. And we're clear. Thank you so much, Vixie, for spending time with me tonight. The interview is going live tomorrow during the 1 p.m. news.
I appreciate your time, Mr. Frenzel. I hope you have a safe trip home.
Detective, thank you so much for overseeing this investigation. I hate reporting on when kids get locked up for something they never understood. I hate it even more when it turns out to be a huge misunderstanding. She's got time still, but this killer may not. Have a good evening. And please, call me if you need anything.
Did you see that? I can't believe I'm going to be on a national news channel. It's so exciting. Oh, if only my brother could see me now. He'd be absolutely devastated. I need a national camera in my face to prove that I'm innocent. To free me from a cell I'd been locked in for 15 years because no one in this town would ever believe me. Detective, do you think that this is ever going to be over? Is there actually a chance I could get out of this cell? And even if I did get out there, where am I gonna go? Everyone here hates me. I left my brother's side once. And this happened. People think I don't blame myself for this. Of course I do. I should have insisted I go with him. I should have been there. Now, all these years later, the news got out that the real monster of the story is still out there, and no one can have a happily ever after anymore. Now they're coming to the original monster, dangling salvation in her face, only to fill her with false hope. She'd be their puppet. Who'd even care anyways? It's not like she has anyone left in the world anyway. Not anymore. Listen, before you go, please take this. Make sure that the sergeant gets this note. It's imperative that the both of you read it. I think it's going to answer all the questions you've been searching for. Have a good evening, Detective. I don't know if I'll see you again after this, but I wanted to thank you for being so diligent and trusting me. I've forgotten what that feels like. Thank you. Please, make sure that they get that note. Have a good evening.
Hey there, back already? How'd it go? Bryce Frenzel. Yeah, I remember him. He got famous for breaking the story about that scam to cure asthma. Seems like a nice guy. Guess we'll have to wait for the interview now, won't we? Of course the interview is gonna get her out of that cell. That's what my plan is. She's not gonna tell us from behind those bars. And if we get her out, she'll take us right to the killers. I might even lose my job. I can't blame her though for being angry at all of us. But she has been talking to us, which is more than enough. It'll be tough for her to stay in town when she does get out. An envelope. Give it here. Please meet me at Bruce's grave on the 12th at 10 p.m. All of your questions will be answered. Huh. Sadie gave this to you. 12th is next Friday. There's more on the back. This picture of Bruce and... Oh my god.
Several reports have been filed surrounding the case of Vixie Ferrento and why she's still in prison after police at the FLPD continue to question her innocence.
Another criminal defense lawyer is speaking out in favor of Vixie Ferrento, stating that the original trial should have been tossed considering the evidence police at the FLPD found to be circumstantial.
In just days, news truck after news truck has flooded the Fort Lufrio female penitentiary, hoping to get an interview with the inmate herself.
There's been a petition that's been going around the internet with over 50,000 signatures for the release of Vixie Ferrento.
You've heard it here first, folks. Now it's up to you to decide if Vixie is guilty or not.
And only a few days later, Chief Danny Chamberlain has been answering calls asking the same question. Why is Vixie behind bars?
He's Chief Chamberlain. Release A2693.